and turn on the okay, we're recording. You're away.
We're recording. Oh, this is exciting, isn't it? Well, you're very lucky that I'm here this morning because for some reason I had it in my head that I got to go online tomorrow morning at 7:30 because I kept thinking I was in Australia, and and I wasn't until the last minute before I went to bed. I said, "Sugar, no, I got to get up early in the morning because we're 3 hours different than Australia." So,
you get that when you're a globetrotter.
Sorry, what was that?
You get that when you're a globetrotter. Where am I today?
Yeah, I know.
You're hard to keep track of, Charlie. You're hard to keep track of. You're buzzing around the world like crazy.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm going to Krabi later in the month, which is very exciting. I've not been there before. It's southern Thailand.
Oh,
wow!
We're taking a 6-day break at a resort on the beach in southern Thailand for 6 days. So I'm very happy about that. Anyway,
which side of Thailand? On the which coast?
Southern.
I know, but on the east side.
I got no idea. I haven't even looked at the map. It's like it's a mystery tour for me.
We got two different kinds of oceans, I think. There, you know.
Is that right? But they're both wet, are they? Yes. Anyway, good morning, swappers, and any future swappers that could be online this morning. How many we got? This is the smallest meeting I think we've ever had, and we've only got 5 participants. And we haven't even got a speaker this morning. So we're going to have a good time this morning, whether we like it or not, just with ourselves, all right? So
we do have, sorry for interrupting, we do have Paddy Sweeney and V Comstock trying to get on, I believe. So we'll just go. Yes. So
we'll just go with the flow at the moment.
Yes.
And I have to get off in 12 at the top of the hour, whatever hour you're at.
All right. Well then, why don't we just begin by welcoming everybody and then going straight into the thoughts of the day, and then we're going to all have an opportunity to give our take on what's happening in their world, and possibly I'd like to know from everybody how they got involved in swap in the first place, and what was the number one takeaway that you got out of swap all those years ago that has basically kept you in swap, kept you part of the swap movement. All right. So why don't we start with on my screen I've got Anne. Anne, can you introduce yourself and give us your thought of the day, and then we'll come back to you later on.
Okay, great. I'm Ann Carlson. I am hailing from Colorado in the United States. And my thought for the day is, people talk about you need to do, and then you become, but really it's the other way around. First we become, and then we do.
We become, and then we do. Excellent. By the way, I want everyone to make sure that they listen to these thoughts of the day, because we don't even know who the thoughts judge is. We have a mystery thoughts judge. They might not have even joined this morning as yet, and they might be the thoughts judge. But anyway, let's go to Harry. Harry?
Morning all, my name is Harry. I am a licensed real estate agent in Queensland, and having a brief discussion with Rhonda this morning about, swap and all that sort of thing. And I remember when I was a swapper in City Swap, I used to get up and say to people, I tell everyone where to go in the nicest possible way. And the reason for that is because I was selling advertising space in a magazine called Where, W-H-E-R-E. So that's my thought for today. I tell everybody where to go in the nicest possible way, but with real estate.
Excellent. Thank you. What about you, Paddy? Are you online now?
Yeah, mate. Can you hear me?
Yeah, lovely to see you again. Long time no see.
Yeah, mate. Okay, I'm just getting bloody organised with the screen here.
We can see you
everywhere. Look, my thought for the day is pretty simple. To get to where you want to go, do what the business requires and not what you feel like doing.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. And what about Susan?
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Susan. I have a job in local government here in Maricopa County, Arizona, which I really love, and I've been working there for 12 years. And no thoughts of retirement yet. I still like my job. My thought for the day is not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced.
Nothing can be changed at all. Excellent. Thank you, Susan. I think I'm the only one left. Is that about right? Yes. All right. Good. Good morning, all. My name is
No, you
Charlie
didn't get
Nichols.
Rhonda yet either.
Oh, Rhonda. Why hasn't she come up on the thing? Oh, she's come up as global swap. Right of it, Rhonda. Go.
Good morning. I am Rhonda Buttery, and I used to be the multi-talented Rhonda Buttery, which I guess I still am. But my main business interests are fantastic nutritional supplements that are made from food instead of petrochemicals. And I also sell and teach people how to use the best astrology software on the planet. And my thought this morning, nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible.
Yes, I like that one. Excellent. Well, good morning, swappers again. My name is Charlie Nichols. I'm a retired salesperson, but then I keep thinking to myself, am I really retired? Because being in sales, I think it's a part of your life. Once you're in sales, you're always in sales. As a matter of fact, my favourite thought of the day has always been, as salespeople, we should never be ashamed of our calling. As a matter of fact, we should be ashamed of our not calling.
I love it.
Oh, excellent. Then I declare myself the winner of the...
That sounds like Charlie.
I declare myself the winner of the thought of the day. Thank you very nicely. Just a little bit of a clap will do me very, very nice.
I think I'd have to second that, Charlie.
I heard it. I think that's a good one. That made
And
me
repeat it. I started writing it down and I broke out laughing instead.
Yes.
As salespeople, we should never be ashamed of our calling. As a matter of fact, we should be ashamed of our not calling.
I love it.
I love it.
One of the reasons I try and live by that particular quote is because in the old days when I did a lot of sales training, and if companies would ring me up and say, "Can you come and talk to our salespeople?" Blah blah blah. They need sales training, and I'd interview the sales managers first, and I quickly realised, and I'd tell them, "Your salespeople do not need sales training. There's nothing wrong with their sales skills. It's all about their prospecting skills. They just don't know how to find a prospect. Once they find one, they know how to sell them. But they've got to find them first because they're just not going out and prospecting." So that's my particular thought of the day.
I
Anything
remember
else?
a story about that. Have we got time for a little story?
Yes, please.
I remember going to some training sessions that Joe Byrne conducted quite some years ago in Brisbane. And he was a great salesman.
Yeah, I worked with him.
And he told a story about one company that called him in to train his salespeople. And he said, "Okay, this week, every one of you has to go and knock on 10 doors every day." They weren't calling. They weren't doing anything. They're expecting sales to come floating down through the ceiling. Their sales increased hundreds of % in that week that they actually went out and did sales. It was door knocking at that stage.
And the key is to keep records. If you keep records, and I learned this in my time in Encyclopedia Britannica, and they had a system called CAPS. CAPS. Your calls equal your appointments, equal your presentations, equal your sales.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I record all my calls, all my appointments, all my presentations, all my sales, and I knew what my conversion rate would be based on past experience, which also meant I could say to myself, well, how much do I want to earn next month? And then trace it backwards and say to myself, well, this is how many calls I've got to make. If I make that many calls on average, that's what I'm going to earn. So there's another part of that, calls, appointments, presentations, sales that I used to train on, which was I'd say to the audience, well, what is your average sale? How much you earn on average for a sale, right? And these were commissioned salespeople. Let's say the commission was $200. That's all right. So it's $200. That's how much you earn per sale. So let me ask you, how many calls does it normally take to get an appointment? And they'd say, oh, you know, 2, 3, 4. I'd say, well, let's use 10. Now, if you did 10 appointments, how many 10 calls? How many appointments would you get? Well, I'd get 5. Well, let's say you only got 4. Out of 4, how many sales would you get? Well, at least 1. Well, if that's correct, that means you've got to make 40 calls, basically, 40 calls to get 1 sale on average. And if that's true, and you earn $200 at the end of the 40 calls, then when you get up in the morning, don't think to yourself, gee, I've got to get a sale.
Okay.
Get up in the morning and think, I've got to make 40 calls. And every call I make, whether they give me an appointment or not, I earn $5. Because 40 calls by $5 equals the $200. So all I got to do is make the 40 calls. Who cares whether they say yes or no? Because averages say that I'm going to get a sale at the end of those 40 calls. And that's what kept me going all those years, was knowing every door I knocked on or every call I made X amount of dollars. Whether they gave me an appointment or not, it was just numbers.
Yes.
I don't know how I got a hold of all that, but anyway.
I love
Gee,
that.
that was a long
Love it.
thought of the day.
That was so true. Even if you made 40 calls and you got one person, that one person may have paid all the money from those 40 people.
Well, that's the whole idea. That is the whole idea. In actual fact, I started to say to myself, I'm not a salesperson. I'm a call person. That's what I am, a call person. Because if you don't make the call, you don't make the sale.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what you say.
And backing that up too, I would get up at meetings, and not a swap meeting, of course, a different meeting, and we'd gather somewhere. It might have just been a meeting somewhere, and people say, oh, I hate it when people put junk mail in my letterbox. Oh, I hate it when people call me in a sales call. I do this, that, and the other. And I'm fuming in the background in the nicest possible way. And I get up and I go, great. If none of us sold anything, none of us would have money to pay our rent, mortgage, for our kids to go to school and the rest of it. So unless somebody says something, nothing in this universe, it's not love, it's not sex, it's not drugs, it's not rock and roll. If a sale doesn't happen somewhere, nobody gets paid today.
That's correct. The Monday.
Amen.
Yeah. And one of the biggest lessons I think I learned in my days at Encyclopedia Britannica, my first boss, Bob Jambor, passed away now, unfortunately, my first mentor. He had an occasion to call me in the office. And he said, we've had a complaint about you, Charlie. I said, what do you mean? He said, we got a complaint that you didn't get the sale last night and you got very bloody pushy. You got very pushy. You got very annoyed that you didn't get the sale because you couldn't see why they wouldn't buy. And they rang up and complained about your attitude. And I said, well, and I went off my little man, as I used to do in those days. And he said, now, hold on. He said, I want you to understand this. He said, I want you to answer me this question. Why did the people let you into their home?
Yeah.
And I said, because they wanted to look at the books.
Yeah.
He said, no, that's not the reason. He said, they let you into their home because the last salesperson left the door open. You just closed it on the next one.
Ooh.
And that's
Yeah.
something that I've lived with for years and years and years and years, and that completely changed my whole attitude. That I didn't care whether they bought or not, because I started to understand the numbers game, and if I missed the sale, I used the 4-letter word next.
Yeah, that's the best 4-letter word. And I found that I sold more when I lost attachment to the outcome.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
care. I'm showing you what I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
I'll give you the information. What you do with it is up to you. And I've done my job.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's exactly. I actually used to say that to my clients. My job is to give you the information. Your job is to decide what to do with it.
Correct.
absolutely.
Correct.
And that's it. That's it in a nutshell, really.
Absolutely.
And as I
love
think
your
Zig Ziglar
mentor's
used to
quote.
say,
I think that's beautiful, that leaving the door open and you shutting it. That's a real wake-up call, isn't it?
It is.
well, it is. And if we teach more salespeople that, they'll get more sales because they'll get in more doors, because more doors will be open, and we'll end up in a respectable trade instead of one that's looked down on.
So a question
Yeah.
there, are people interested in selling? Or
Well,
are they just,
everybody sells, as you well know.
Right.
Everybody sells. It's
or
just
are they just looking?
how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it without them even realizing that you sell? And a lot of customers don't even understand that. I can remember being at a party in Toowoomba early in my sales career, at a cocktail party, and I'm talking to a farmer, and he said, "Yeah, what do you do for a living?" And I said, I'm a salesperson. He says, "Oh, I'm not one of you bloody salespeople." He's starting to go really off his nut about salespeople. And I said, "Well, obviously somebody's upset you. What's going on?" And he said, "Do you know the company Carpet Call?" And I said, "Yep." He said, "Well, I had one of the Carpet Call salespeople around my place 3 weeks ago, and he said, I couldn't get rid of him. Talk about being bloody pushy, you know." And I just kept saying, no, and he just wouldn't take no for an answer. And basically, I had to throw him out of my house. And I said, "Oh, that's no good at all." I said, "So you end up not buying any carpet?" He said, "Oh, yeah, I've now bought carpet. My sister's brother's uncle is in the carpet trade, and he came round to see us." And I said, "Oh, all right, good." And I said, "So you placed an order?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Did you place an order on the same night, like the carpet call guy wanted you to?" He said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "Well, why did you place an order with that guy and not the carpet call guy?" He said, "Because that guy had the carpet we wanted."
You'd think the farmer would love salespeople because nothing happens to his crop unless somebody
Yeah, I
sells.
know. Yeah, but they don't understand that. They're all in their own little world. There's so many stories that we've learnt through swap that's kept us going, maybe even subliminally have kept us going. We don't even realise that the input that swap has had on our lives over the years. One of the greatest stories I heard out of swap, and I don't even know who the actual speaker was. It was just the outcome that got me, and that was a story about Alexander the Great. I don't know, everyone knows Alexander the Great. at the age of about 20, he conquered the known world at that particular stage. And one of his greatest, and he was a tactician, and one of his greatest tactics was he would invade another country, and he'd line up all the boats. He'd line up all his men first on the shore, and he'd turn around and say, "Now face the boats." And they all faced the boats, and they stood there for hours. And he'd say, "Burn the boats." And they'd burn the boats in front of the troops. They'd stand there watching their boats burn. And when they're burnt to the not to the ground, but to the sea level, it's saying about face. And he said, "Now, if you want to go home, we've got to go take their boats."
Oh.
And that's been a pretty powerful thing for me. And sometimes you've just got to.
Oh,
Lost your sound,
It's still
Charlie.
there.
Oh, yeah. Got you back.
My thing just, yeah, hello.
yes.
Is that better?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
Yeah,
story.
all right.
Good story.
Yeah, and you got to burn, and that's exactly how I got involved in selling, by burning a bridge. I was a furniture removalist.
Oh, wow. Oh, lost you.
Danica. So, and the only way I knew it was going to work for me was by selling to what I was comfortable with. I had to learn the new skill. But anyway, all right. So let's take a 2-minute break while we go and get ourselves a cup of coffee, and then when we come back, why don't we turn?
Oh, he's frozen.
We've lost your sound again. Oh, the video's been frozen for a while, but the sound was working and now it's not.
Why don't
Let's
we
go make a cup of coffee.
give Charlie a chance to get back on, and we can start again.
Or unless we get the coffee, and when we come back, he'll probably be on.
Yeah. He's probably.
Hello, V. You made it.
Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you?
Hey, grateful to be here.
We're just taking a few minutes break to get a cup of coffee.
Excellent.
Okay, we've done our thoughts of the day and who we are. So we're just getting a cup of coffee, and now we're going to get into sharing what SWAP means to us and how we got involved with SWAP and some of our personal SWAP story. Here comes Charlie.
Hello.
We've got V with us now.
Where is she?
Well, I'm back.
We're all back.
Fabulous.
Well, have we had our 2-minute break?
We did.
Yes.
All
And I
right.
don't know if you heard me, but we've got V with us at the moment. I don't know if you're looking on a computer screen or a phone, so you might not see everybody.
All right. Good morning, V. How are you?
She's
Can
muted
you hear
because
me?
she's got a dog in the background.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Well, all right. So shall we continue? We've once
Oh,
again.
there she goes. Morning.
Are you there, V?
She can,
Yep.
yeah,
I am. Can you hear me?
yeah. Good
There
morning.
you go. Welcome.
I love it when technology supports me.
Ah,
Are you in Hawaii or in San Diego?
I'm in San Diego. San
Go
Diego.
San Diego. We love San Diego.
Yes,
And-
all my family's here.
excellent. Have you got a thought of the day at all, V? We'd love to hear it.
Well, my thought is usually staying present is the gold mine to peace and joy.
Excellent. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Unfortunately, it didn't win.
Charlie on this morning.
Because we already had a winner, and I was the thoughts judge, and it was mine.
Congratulations. What was the thought?
Yeah, I'm a winner.
Hello. Who can't love that?
My thought was, as salespeople, we should never be ashamed of our calling. As a matter of fact, we should be ashamed of our not calling.
If there's going to be shame, right?
Yeah, there we go. All right, well, we've got a very, just to bring you up to date then, V, we've got a very small meeting this morning, and so we've been having like an open forum, really, and just saying what we want to say. I've had a little bit of a chat about what some of the things that SWAP's done for me, and I'm just wondering if anybody else wanted to talk about their experience on why they joined SWAP, maybe who introduced them to SWAP, and the biggest thing they ever got out of SWAP. So why don't we start with Paddy? Paddy,
Yeah,
the
mate.
chair's all yours.
Okay, well, I joined SWAP in 1979, which was a day or two ago. So what was that, about 45 years ago, I think. Is that about right?
Yes.
Okay,
Maybe a little bit
so
longer than that.
It was in Auckland, New Zealand. I had come up from Christchurch and set my business up there. I'd been running Napoleon Hill courses in Christchurch for about 4 years, and I was expanding into Auckland. And I bought out from America a guy that some of you would have heard of called Earl Nightingale.
Oh, yes.
And we did a series of seminars around the country, and like we got good numbers, like about, I think Auckland was the biggest. We got about 800 along there, which was pretty good back in those days. Anyway, there was a lady that was in the audience called Jan, and I just trying to think of her name. She lives now down at Casuarina, and she's not in particularly good health. And her and her husband, who had a big yacht, they had a party plan company doing hair care products. Anyway, she invited me along to a swap meeting. And the swap was just getting off the ground in Auckland. And the guy that was driving it was Bob Smith. And Bob was running World Book in New Zealand under the umbrella of John Nevin, who was the South Pacific director. And so anyway, I went along there and I was horrified at this. I'm alive, I'm well, I feel great thing. I thought, holy hell, I'm not coming back here. And but I did. I came back, and a while later, when we got to our 30 numbers, we launched, okay, under the Australian flag and of running things. And Ron Tacky and John Nevin came out, and we did a launch, and we had another guest speaker on that afternoon, a little guy from Africa who had shifted to New Zealand. Can't think of his name, and he won the lightweight gold medal at the Olympic Games.
Wasn't his name Treasure?
Treasure or Precious or something?
Precious, yes,
Precious Mackenzie.
Yes, Precious Mackenzie. Yeah, I worked with him in New Zealand.
Okay, so he was a speaker as well. So anyway, I got involved as I got elected as the president, and I put my heart and soul into it. And I came across to a conference at Service Paradise, which had some fantastic speakers. I remember the guy that developed SeaWorld and Hamilton Island, Keith Williams, he was one of the speakers. Yeah. Another guy who was the mayor of the Gold Coast, and he developed most of the land here, who used to own Melbourne push bikes. He was there. Anyway, I cranked up Auckland, and I was there for about 2 years, and I moved to Australia in 1981. And I was not here a very short time, and I realised Swap didn't have anyone in any club on the Gold Coast, and it had one club in Brisbane. And so anyway, I got together, and I came together with an idea, and but I did it differently. I've spent my life doing things differently, and so instead of having breakfast meetings, we had a monthly lunch. Okay. And I had a lady from the Gold Coast Bulletin who was, she was helping me, and also a lady who was the promotions lady from the Pacific Hotel, which is now where Australia Fair is. Oh, and we used to get about 50 to 80 people at these lunches, and they were promoted heavily with editorial and what have you in the paper for free. And we had some of the top people on the Gold Coast. We had Arthur Earl, who was one of the richest men in Australia at the time, developed a lot of the Gold Coast and had huge farms. I remember one year he spent $40 million buying 8 outback farms, and we went along quite well. And then and in Auckland, I came up with this idea, which some of you may be aware of, which was called the swap auction. So what we used to do was, when we were having the meeting, at the end of the meeting, we'd get everyone, we'd get some key people to give a pitch about what they liked about swap and what it was good. And then we would go around the room and we'd say, now we've got 23 members or 43 or whatever it was. And so we'd say, but what we're looking for now is number 44. Have we got number 44? And then I'd run it like an auction, okay? And what would happen, someone would get caught up in the enthusiasm, what everyone was doing, and get number 44. Okay, we're going for number 45. And we would get about 90% of the guests would join, okay, under that enthusiasm. And then one of my strengths is I'm a great starter of getting things going. And if I'm the smart money, I step back and let other people take it over and run it. And when we got up to about 60 people, was about a year, and I stepped back, and Peter Campbell stepped in as the president, and I'd had vice presidents could be a problem. So we had two vice presidents, and I knew one would compete against the other. And that's what happened. So one left and one really shone, and that went on very, very well. And then along came Rita Hartney.
Oh,
Rita became involved down south, and her and I worked quite closely together, and I became the state president. And during that time, I worked with others, and we opened up, I think it was 4 or 5, I think, new clubs in Queensland in a year. Like we had 3 on the Gold Coast, and we had Premier Swap. Pilot Swap was already there. We had Premier Swap, and then we had Noosa Swap. And it was and Jeff Wilkins, who I went to his wife's 80th birthday the other day. He was him and Fran were one of the drivers of the Noosa Swap. And anyway, that year, which I think I came over to Australia in 1981, and I think that year, 84. We had our conference, which was a massive conference, at the Ramada Hotel in Surfers, where Rita was doing the HR. And I was very fortunate that I won Swapper of the Year. And at the big gala night, the club, the hotel had this variety show, which was a really Las Vegas type variety show with women with great big feathers in their hair and topless and what have you, and they sang and danced and everything. And then when it came for me to get this award, 2 topless women came down and escorted me up to the. So it was a hell of a bloody thing going on. I didn't know whether to be embarrassed or smile, but so. What happened, I started to peter out in about 1985, because what happened was, and the guy, it used to be a past president, and I had a conversation, a guy called Cole Crawford, and he owned a car dealership in Sydney called Cole Crawford Motors, which was a very big dealership there.
Yes.
And I said, how come you're not in Swap anymore? He said, oh, I had to give it up because if I didn't, I was going to lose my business. He said, I was putting more time into Swap than I was into my business. And I was pretty much the same, setting up these 5 clubs and running around, going to a few meetings every week and trying to get people along and propping up people that were falling over and all the things that happen. And so I drifted out, and I did come back a while later as when it had all died in the arse, and got it going again. And but I never really continued on after that. I'd spoken at clubs all around Australia, and I suppose, I really enjoyed the time. There was no question about that. And I suppose, what was the most I got out of it? Well, you're talking about selling. Now, my style of selling has always been, and it has served me exceedingly well, to be a relationship builder first. And I worked on the basis that if people would like me, they would buy off me, okay? So before I'd ever worry about trying to sell them anything or go into a pitch, I would work on building the relationship. And I'd read a book way back, even before I read Think and Grow Rich in 1969, by Dale Carnegie. And he said in that book, one of the key ways of selling and building relationships that I've ever heard. He said, if you want people to like you, he says, do this. Still in the book today. He said, ask them this question. How did you get started in this business? Or how did you get started in this career? So I've always worked on that. And Dale Carnegie said, people don't find people who will listen to them or even hear about their story. So I have used that right up to right now in building relationships. I meet people and I don't have anything of my story for them. My question starts with, how did you get started with this? And then I'd follow on as soon as they told me that, and I'd say, so what was the impact on that on your life? Some people could go up to 2 hours talking about themselves. You know, very few people get that over and done with quickly. And when they like you, they're ready to listen to you, and they're ready to take your advice, and they're ready to follow through. So Swap was an amazing platform for me to refine my relationship building skills. And I've spoken at numerous national conventions and state conventions, and it was very, very good, the whole process. So Swap has been kind to me and my business and my family. And so I still, I'm coming up 78 this year, and I'm still actively involved in business. We have a franchise operation with 35 vans out there around Australia and New Zealand. And I've surrounded myself with key people who look after everything, and I keep my finger on the money. And my main goal is to handle crisis, which doesn't happen very often, and to put out a monthly, really dynamic newsletter, something that I spend an awful amount of time on with graphics and everything, and then to have a major conference every year. And then I'm in the process of, I built that business up. I took it back over. I had master franchisees running it. 4 years ago, I bought back all the masters using their money and paying them off. I was paying it off at about 100,000 a year and still had money left over. And so I'm now gearing up to resell it to some of our existing people next year. And as I mentioned at one other meeting here, I've been, and I won't go into it now, but I am then moving into building a full feature movie with a budget of 4 million, of which the government we've lined up 2 million from the government. And I'll get started on that next year. I'm not doing much with it. I'm getting it ready. And it, because of an idea I got from a Chinese guy, could have been a thought for the day, when Confucius said, chase 2 rabbits and you're not going to catch either. So when I've stopped chasing the Stainbusters carpet cleaning rabbit, I'll start chasing the rabbit of our movie, which is called Bloody Red Tape. It's a comedy drama. Okay, that's my story.
Excellent. Thank you, Paddy. It's interesting you said you stood back a little bit about 1985, because that's the year that I joined Swap, and it was Premier Swap that I joined. Don Nicholson was the one that introduced me to Swap back in 1985. I think I'd only gone to about 6 meetings, and then they had their elections, and before you knew it, I was the president of Premier. I had no idea what I was doing, but anyway, 'tis life. Listen, I tell you who I haven't really heard from, their story, and that was an excellent story. Thanks, Paddy, because I learned a lot about not only you as a person, but a little bit about the Swap history. But what has Rhonda got to say? Come on, Rhonda, you give us your story.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. Well, it's very interesting you mentioned John Nevin, because in the 70s, I was one of John Nevin's field discovery ladies you remember World Book brought out Field Discovery Party Plan, which was educational games, books and activities for children, and they were out of this world as far as quality was concerned. So I met John Nevin before I ever heard anything about SWAP. I joined SWAP in 1997, so I'm a bit of a baby compared to some of you. And I was introduced by Terry Moxham, who was staying at our house at the time from Sydney. We were in Brisbane. And I went to SWAP, and I just loved the feeling, the warmth, the interest, the friendliness. You learned something as well. And I just never left. So that was Pilot SWAP in Brisbane. And it was about a 45-minute drive for me at the time. It's a bit longer than that now. So we went on for quite some time. And then around early 2000, we had Bayside SWAP, which is out here at Cleveland where I live. And that was started by a group of business friends. The guy who started it was, it's up to me. What was his name? He started that SWAP club out here, but then they ran out of president. So it was decided that I would swap over to Bayside SWAP, and I became president for 2 years. I had been national state secretary. I became state president, and I've just kept going. I just loved the warmth and the inclusion of SWAP. And not long after I joined SWAP, probably in my first year of SWAP, I went through the worst period of my whole life. And every time I went to SWAP, there was this tangible feeling of support. Nobody asked questions. They were just, without knowing anything, they knew there was problems, and they were just so supporting. So Don Nicholson used to say, you're not in SWAP till SWAP's in you. Well, it didn't take any time at all for SWAP to be in me. And I just love the caliber of the people, the support, the friendship, the caring that comes with SWAP. And I have attended a number of networking groups, and there's only one that ever came close to what SWAP was offering. And the people I met at SWAP way back then are still close friends. We might not see each other all that much, but it's like we just pick up where we left off. So that's basically my SWAP story. And then when we decided to get going again with Global SWAP, I went along to the meeting where we discussed it, and Sylvia Morris, God bless her soul, said, oh, Rhonda's the best secretary I ever had. So I did that for 4 years and then stepped back, and now I just run the Zoom.
Excellent. And you run it so well. We really appreciate you, Rhonda. Well, what about, we have another New Zealand story. What about Susan? Where are you, Susan?
Okay, well, where am I? Well, I'm in Arizona, as you know. We're just coming into our summer now, so it's going to get really hot. We'll get up to 45 degrees soon. Okay, so I was in a network marketing business at the time, and in 1997, it would have been, one of my associates said to me, hey, Susan, I've come across this meeting. I think you'd really love it. So I went along, and it was like, oh my gosh, I just love it so much. And I just jumped right in and went to every meeting. Eventually, well, actually, I was self-employed at the time, and we eventually had 4 clubs in the Auckland area. So some weeks I actually used to go to the whole 4. Just loved them, loved them, loved them. And I remember thinking at the time, gosh, I'd love to do this full time. Wouldn't it be great if this could be my full-time job? But it never ever came to that because they didn't employ anybody. So, but I know I just really loved it. And I eventually became the club president. I did through all the trainings, you know, did the gold, the bronze, silver, all of that. And I made some really great friends, and I still have those friends today. In fact, I've just been in New Zealand for nearly 4 weeks, and I caught up with Trish Stewart. I caught up with Bob Jamison. He now lives in the South Island, near where my daughter lives. So I messaged him and said, hey Bob, I'm going to be in your area today. I'm going on this boat cruise. So we got together and had a drink, and I caught up with Carol Morris and Brian Morris. They live in Picton. And I met them in a place called Havelock, so we had lunch. So my swap friends are my best friends. Tried to get together with Richard Webster, but he wasn't available during the week. During the weekend, I caught up with Joss, I caught up with Janice and Cheryl Samuel. So I caught up with all of them, and they're all my swap friends. So, you know, we just picked up from where we left off. Now, you mentioned about what is some of the takeaway that kept me in swap, and the number one. I just found that it's been I've got a positive attitude. I know each week we would have a positive thought for the day, and I remember sitting there thinking, "Gee, I heard this one last week," or "Gee, that one was on the week before," and I just felt that I actually started to become those positive thoughts, and I never really got tired of them, even though they got repeated. We all needed to hear them again. So I've found throughout my life now, I have a really positive attitude. One of my supervisors said to me one day, she said, "Susan, you have the most positive attitude with anyone I have ever known." Because, you know, I just come into work, I bounce in the door, life is great. And I feel also that challenges that come up, I can turn them into opportunities. I look at something, think, okay, how can I work my way around this? And with it all, the personal development that we've had, I mean, I'm still doing personal development stuff. I will always do personal development stuff. And I find it really challenging and very rewarding. So I have just loved SWAP over the years, and very happy to be part of the global group. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Susan. I really appreciate that. Now, who have we got next? What about Harry? We haven't heard from Harry for a while.
Oh, you haven't. Joined SWAP in 1980, City SWAP. I went along with a girl that was a reporter. She was the weather girl for one of the radio stations. I think it was 2UE. And I met her because she used to be a writer for one of the magazines I worked for. She said, "I'll come along to a networking thing." So 1980, turned up to a meeting. She sat at one table and I sat at another, and I sat next to Ron Lee.
Oh.
And he got up and introduced himself and introduced me as his guest, which I wasn't. And I got up, and by the end of the meeting, somebody handed me a form and I joined. And for, gosh, up until 1990, I was the secretary or something or other over the time. And most of the time I spent with Graham Nichols when he was the president of SWAP. And we did conventions and all sorts of things. That was fun. He was a character indeed. He's now living in New Zealand. We still stay in touch, and that was the best time I ever had. And I really was selling advertising in the space, and in that time, and advertising salespeople were, I think, lower than car salespeople, because at least when you were selling a car, they actually drove away with something. When you sold them advertising space, you were selling them something that they couldn't touch. So unless somebody walked into their business and said, "We came because of Wear magazine," nobody believed that it worked. But I did that till 1990-ish, and then we took off and did our own business. But everything, I think I have said this in the past, everything that I think, do, say, and function, and I think it's everything, it came from SWAP, because I had no other mentors. I did get to see Nightingale and oh my gosh, it was just incredible. The people were there. I mean, not to mention John Nevin being at the meeting almost every week. You know, mega good guy. There were plenty of times that I got the opportunity to get a card from John saying, "Thank you for being at the meeting today." He always sent thank you cards. I learnt that from him. And everyone that got up, I learnt something from them, and I took it on. And basically for the next 5 years that I was selling advertising space, or 10, actually, I think it was 8 or 10 years in total. But for the first 5 years, I struggled to make a living because, you know, not everyone believed in advertising. And the last 5 or 10 years that I was in advertising sales, I basically didn't have to do anything. The orders just came in. So I slog. And then all I did was just walk past somebody's shop, somebody's business, and say g'day. And they would just sign up. They would just renew. My biggest client at the time was a guy who I then found out after I left and was older and wiser, was Dominic Choi, who owned Choi's restaurants in Chinatown. And I used to have to climb these old rickety steps to get up there. I was there for a minimum of 2 hours. He used to buy full page advertising, which was in those days a huge amount of money. And I was the only one in the industry, I think for about 5 years straight while he was a client, that had the American Express logo on it. And his neighbor was the marketing manager of American Express. And he would just pay for it, and he would just ask her for the money over his back fence. And people didn't know how I got that ad. Well, I used to spend 2 hours at a time with Dominic Choi. I then found out when I left, they said to me, do you know who he is? And I never checked it. I've never done anything about it, but they said he used to be in charge of the Chinese mafia in Sydney. He was an architect by trade. He then married a Chinese opera singer, and they had one daughter. And to this day, whenever I remember, I send him a message and he sends me back and he said, have you married a good Chinese boy yet? And this was, you know, from 1980 to 1990, I knew this man. And he taught me a lot of lessons about being persistent. And I would not leave his office. I would not leave that office without a signed check, him paying for the advertising space. And at the end of me leaving Wear magazine, he kind of said, you know, no one ever walked out of my office with a signed check. So determination and creating a friendship with him. Yep, I'll sit here. You can find me a Chinese husband. I'm fine. But yeah, it was Swap taught me almost everything I know, if not everything. And everything that we've had to date, whether it's been food shops or Louis running a taxi business or us doing real estate, has come from Swap. I learned from no one else. I had no one else to learn from. So it's a huge debt that I owe Swap, and a lot of the swappers, I actually, just on the side there, I actually was John Nevin's son, JJ. I was one of his best men at his wedding. And there were 3 of us, I think. And yeah, I was one of the best men, and I'm the godmother to one of his children, so one of the girls. So
excellent, thank you. One of the threads I think I've picked up from everybody is that I know we learned a lot. I know we learned heaps out of Swap.
I've just got to fire
but
the
really,
computer up.
Really, Swap was just the doorway to self-development. Swap was the doorway to other speakers and other ways of looking at things. Like, there's no way known that if I hadn't joined Swap, I would have been introduced to Zig Ziglar and all these other great speakers, and decided I wanted to become a speaker myself and be a trainer myself. So it's very interesting. What about V? What's your story, V?
Well, thanks for asking, Charlie. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can.
Oh, good. So my story is that I've always enjoyed speech, and in high school, you know, we took it to state. I was comedy and drama, and I enjoyed the camaraderie of people that love to speak and to represent. And as I became an adult and a mother, I put aside my speaking career and raised a family and enjoyed all that, and homeschooled and did a lot of things, kind of like Patty said. Nothing was the norm for me. I believed education had to do with travel. And one of my favorite places in the whole world is Australia because of the people there. And I was invited into Global Swap last year by Harry, who was in my audience on my very last conventional, the old fashioned way, no Zooming, stand up speech in Brisbane.
Yep.
For two wonderful ladies that I'm dear friends with. Maybe Sandy Forster from
yes.
Wildly Wealthy Women, and oh my gosh, my brain just went. That's so funny. Say it again, Harry.
Dipna Bohol.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so bad. This is my afternoon, and I've been taking care of a 6-year-old all day, homeschooling, and I got off early so I could be a part of this. And it's what I take away from joining once a month and being invited as a guest is the camaraderie, the opportunity to network with lovely people that have experience, and also the passion for making a difference in the world. And 2016 was the last time I was in Australia, and I'm hoping next winter I'll be going there instead of Hawaii. And I don't know. It's the road shows up. I just continue my work. I'm back to speaking. This is the year that I start to speak again and about how to manifest your dreams that you prefer to experience. And I love to build conscious communities, and how that gets done. Much like Patty said, I'm a big starter, and I just love to bring the inspiration in, and by my life's experience, hoping that excites and causes curiosity of how much we can really do in a short amount of time that we're walking this earth. Yes. So thank you guys. I love your humor. I love your depth. I love your I love your smiles. I love your commitment. And I look forward to really, getting to know you guys on a one-on-one basis sometime soon. I know that you guys are having unless you already had the convention, I've lost track. I was in Hawaii, and now I'm in California taking care of babies, grandbabies, great-grandbabiys. Got one more coming this summer. And I'm looking forward to making a difference, utilizing all the technology that I'm a little intimidated by, but excited every time it works. So thank you very much. I hope I answered the questions that you were curious about.
Thank you, V. We love you too. We love having you online, and we're all looking forward to. Well, Harry's met you, but I'd like to meet you in person. But you got to come to Laos. When are you coming to Laos?
I really love that idea. I actually it was never on my bucket list. Thailand was on my bucket list, and I wanted to work with elephants that were in orphanages, but Laos sounds wonderful because I love to work with children and nature, and and who knows, I'm just send me an invitation.
Well, it's just across the border from Thailand.
So. Was in Laos, and we had a fantastic time. There were about 20 of us, and
25.
We stayed at Charlie and Sandra's Lao Lake House Resort, and it was awesome.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I look forward to the opportunity.
And I'm building my about convention, V. It's going to be later on in the year. We're just negotiating dates now, but perhaps October time. Oh, that sounds exciting. September 1st, my first book is going to be published. And as I said on our last meeting, I just put up the V Comstock website. And, this is all new to me. I don't have anybody to manage me or
to do my secretarial work, which is something that I have not really been practiced at. I'm a people person. I love to be on stage, sharing my heart and my stories that inspire people. And this is the year for me to get out there and not be shy anymore about making this happen. So thanks you guys for sparking my drive again.
Hey,
Excellent.
V, I wanted to ask V, how long are you living in San Diego now?
So yes, I'm from San Diego. Went to school out here, traveled the whole world, raised one of my daughters in Europe for from 2009 to 2015. They're both grown now, so it's just grandchildren and other people's references.
Okay.
Where I'm a caregiver when I'm not on stage or becoming an author.
Okay, because I'm coming over on July the 19th. The All Blacks are playing Fiji, and so I'm going over. So I could probably catch up with you on, I could probably catch up with you on Sunday the 21st. So I'll message
that's
you.
amazing. Oh, thank you so much. I would love that. I'm very kinesthetic, so a nice squeeze from you and catching up. I would love that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And that's a very special day. The 21st is a very special day because it'll be my 75th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Happy, yes. There'll be a lot to celebrate that day.
Well, maybe
you two can have a drink for me.
Exactly, and they can send the photo. We can share the photo.
Count me in.
I always remember that date, Charlie, the 21st of July. How can I forget?
Because I tell everybody anytime I get an opportunity.
That is correct.
The 25th of July, but he's a little bit younger than you. Just a little.
June 15th. June 15th is my birthday, and I'll be celebrating it in Michigan, where I went to school for radio and television. Three people have asked me to come out there, and I'm stretching myself for a month without knowing how I'm going to make any income. But God provides. But it's about helping people transition from this dimension. There's 3 people that are in hospice right now, and their children I've known for over 20 years are having trepidation. So I'm going there to bring the sacredness into the dying process and making it more of a celebration of life instead of the fears that, at least in America, our culture has kept it a big secret, and everybody's like not aware of the full capacity of our existence. If we don't get the end, and I mean, we're always celebrating births, but what about the next phase,
Yeah, true, very true.
Yes. That also reminds me of another story that I learned from SWAP, and I cannot, once again, can't remember who the speaker was, but they spoke of walking through a cemetery and having a look at the gravestones. And the speaker said you could see on the gravestone the name of the person, the year they were born, dash, and then the year that they died. But really, the gravestone told you nothing because their story was in the dash. And that's where our story is in the dash between the day that we're born and the day that we die. What type of dash are we going to be leaving? Well, what type of legacy are we going to be leaving? And that's another one of the stories that kind of helped me through and through the crises that I've had. Some of you know that 10 days ago I had another stroke. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk. Look at me today, back to, well, not normal, because I don't want to be normal, but feeling a lot better. The only lasting effect seems to be tiredness, exhaustion. I get tired a little bit easier. But the most important part, it hasn't affected the brain. I think I've lost everybody. No, everybody's still there. So, what's the time now?
It's 4 minutes to 9.
What is it?
4 minutes to 9.
4 minutes tonight. Well,
Oh,
to end off our session today, and we really are sorry we didn't have a speaker for everybody today, but gee, I'm kind of glad that we didn't, because
Yeah.
I've heard I'm better informed of who you are, and hopefully you're a little bit better informed who I am, and that brings us a lot closer together. What we now need to do is to transport all those ideas out into the community, because I still believe SWAP is needed out there, as I just said earlier on, as the doorway to self-development. We can't supply everything to everybody, but we certainly can get the ball rolling. As a matter of fact, what we might end up with is, Rhonda, you're looking at putting on a cruise for seniors with a purpose, so that our senior swappers that are not really interested in the motivation anymore, or this Zoom meeting, can still get together having a cruise. Have you got any update on that?
No, haven't. We are talking to cruise companies. With the change of date of the convention, I just need to be mindful until we know exactly when it is. The last thing we need is to clash.
yes.
Yes, yeah. And not everybody's going to go to the convention and on the cruise. Some will decide to go on the cruise and not the convention.
Well, that's
Because one
fine,
of the things
but I don't think we want them at the same time.
Mm.
And I do think that we're at the crossroads now. Global Swap is at the crossroads now, where we have the old swappers, and hopefully we're bringing in the new swappers. And the old swappers are, as I just said, are not as interested in the Zoom meeting as maybe we wanted or thought that they would be, but are still interested in getting together as a group. And I can't think of anything better than a cruise. You know, I just absolutely love a cruise. Well, unless anybody else has got something to say, I think we might just close the meeting. I think that we're on time, and I really appreciate, even though it's the smallest meeting we've ever had, I appreciate the important people are here. Isn't it amazing? We've got the VIPs there. So we could have called this our VIP Zoom meeting this morning, couldn't we? And what about
I'll be the V part. I'll be the V part of your VIP.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Good. So who's going to lead us out with "I'm alive, I'm well, and I feel great"? Who would like to
I
do
think
that?
V should do it.
Come on, V. Can you handle "I'm alive, I'm well, and I feel great" for us?
Sure, but we'll see how I do. I'm alive.
I'm well.
I'm alive. I'm
great.
well, and I
And
feel
I
great.
feel
great.
I'm well, and I feel
I
great.
feel great. One more.
alive,
I'm
I'm
alive.
I'm well,
I
and
feel
I
great.
feel great.
Yes.
I feel great.
I'm special.
You
I
are
am
Excellent.
special.
Excellent, folks. Well, what's the date of the next meeting? Anybody know?
The 4th of June. Tuesday, the 4th of June.
All right, and have we got a speaker? Do you know if Jeremy's organised a speaker for that particular?
We have one, and I believe it's the guy that was going to do today apparently is going to do June, but I will get that confirmation from Jeremy at the end of this week, and I will shoot out a save the date and then get his information.
And
Do
Very inspiring guy, does a lot of work everywhere, so it's fabulous.
excellent.
I have a question. Do I need to join to be a speaker for you guys? Because I'd love to headline you one time.
Yes, you do need to become a member. That's the
Fair enough.
sales talking.
Yep.
And for an American, it's as cheap as chips. It's only $49.95 Australian, which works out about 23 cents American, I think. Something like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
Something like
Harry's
that.
going to follow up on that.
And then all
Yes.
you do is message Jeremy and he'll send you the time and the date.
Excellent.
Is Jeremy today?
Okay, team. Well, I got to go. I got another meeting starting.
Thanks,
So
Right, thank
all the
Patty.
you.
best, and we'll talk again soon.
You're most
Thanks,
welcome.
Paul. Have a
Pleasure.
good day.
Anything
Be
else you'd
safe.
like me to do?
Right, folks. Is that it?
That's it.
That's it.
Bye. all.
Eh, Well,
Bye.
I'll see you,
as
Susan.
usual, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Bye.
Merry Christmas. Bye.